I'm Jackie Van Ham, and I am on an adventure to find the coolest people on two wheels. We're in Milwaukee on this episode of Z1R Downshift. We're here talking to Kendall Lutchman, whose motorcycles you have definitely seen, but maybe didn't know they were his. Here at Lucky 7 Custom Cycles. Kendall is not your typical bike builder, and his path to get here is a big reason why.
I'm originally from the Caribbean. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
I moved with my two brothers and my mom and dad in 1985 to the United States. I mean, my dad's kind of like everyone's dad, like kind of like the jack of all trades. You know, he does a lot of different things, you know, but he worked at a National Gypsum.
Okay.
And then my dad retired and my mom opened a restaurant and then barbecue restaurant. The people she used to work for, and then she's now retired and they moved to Louisville. So where you're from.
The Louisville connection.
Yeah.
I love it.
Like many of us, the motorcycle bug bit Kendall at an early age.
My neighbor down the street, who is like my best friend up to this day, since I was like 6 years old, and he had a little like Yamaha Enduro, and I would just go hop on with him and ride with him in the trails and stuff. My parents didn't know that, you know, my mom was not about motorcycles. So I saved up all my money and I was like, Dad, there's this like Gixxer 750. I got enough money to put a down payment, but I need a cosigner. They're like, yeah, bring your dad in. So we stop at my mom's restaurant, and my dad's like, all right, we'll be back in a little bit. And my mom's like, where are you guys going? And my dad's like, oh, he wants to go look at this, you know, motorcycle at Ron and Brian's. And she's like, well, you guys might as well stop at the funeral home and buy a casket on your way there. And I'm like, oh, are you serious? You know, like heartbroken. So like we pulled off. My dad's like, you know this ain't happening, right? He's like, there's no way this is gonna happen. So now fast forward, I'm in like 21. My buddy's driving my truck. I'm riding his Gixxer. And who pulls up next to me at the traffic light? My mom and dad. And my mom's like, are you fucking kidding me? And I'm just like, oh shit. I'm like, I was older. She started accepting like, okay, I'm gonna be into motorcycles.
That passion for bikes evolved into the mechanical side, starting with four wheels.
I grew up in Waukegan and slowly got into cars because my brothers were car guys, and you know, my dad's a car guy, and just started escalating, you know, and then it just turned into motorcycles and painting. Well, painting started a long time ago also, but it just escalated and I just love it. That's what I do. And like, you know, it's kind of weird to say that, but it's like, that's what I do for a living, you know.
I love that.
I never would have thought that, but you know, it's like people used to be like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like, I don't know. I just like working on cars and bikes, you know.
Kendall made a name for himself painting, and it all started with a popular activity of the past.
Back in the 80s, model cars was a thing. You know, it's still a thing. It's coming back more, but like plastic model cars. Anyway, so I got into models like that, and then I learned how to paint model cars, and it just went from there. And now when you have model cars, it's just a scaled down version of a real car. I wanted to learn how to paint them, so I would just like spray paint them, mess them up. Dad, I need an airbrush. Dad, I need to go to the paint store and get these paints, you know, and this and that. And so I learned how to paint, essentially painting model cars. Mom comes home, the whole house reeks, and I'm in trouble, but model car looks good.
Yeah, but the car looks amazing, right?
So yeah, so that's how that all started.
Utilizing his skills as a painter, Kendall began to make connections and create masterpieces.
My mom's restaurant, our Coca-Cola rep, was good friends with Warren Heyer, who is Scott's partner in On the Tri.
Okay.
So I took my dad's truck and turned it into a show truck when I was 18 years old, 19. And one day he finally stopped and he's like, hey, whose truck is that? And I was like, oh, that's my truck. He's like, who painted that? I was like, mine. Oh, I did. He's like, but you work at a barbecue joint. And he's like, dude, my buddy's dad owns a motorcycle shop not far from here, like 5 minutes from here. You should come hang out. It's like they have a shop at their house. So I went over there and I met Warren. I met his mom, his dad, his sister, all the friends, all the homies. And I started pinstriping stuff for them and doing a little small repair, like touch-up paint. And then we just hit it off really good. We became friends, and Warren asked me to paint a bike, his knucklehead. So while he was building it, he's like, hey man, would you be interested in painting? I was like, hell yeah, like I'll paint that shit, We're in the middle of painting it, he's like, hey, you ever heard of like Frazetta? He goes, I want a mural on there. And I was like, oh no. I mean, the bike was a bitchin' bike, but the paint job also, and it got a lot of attention. Everyone's like, who painted that? Or
is that the bike with the forest scene on it?
With the death dealer. It's Frazetta's death dealer. It's
okay.
like a dude, it's a henchman on a horse.
Oh wow.
Like on top of this mountain with like birds flying in the background.
Oh,
It was actually the cover of Molly Hatchet's album in the 70s.
How on earth does a guy from Trinidad end up coming to the U.S., working kind of in barbecue, working kind of in painting, family background, all sorts of cool stuff? How on earth do you end up in Milwaukee? How do you end up here?
My coworker at the time, his girlfriend does this vintage market, and that one year they did it at the Harley Museum in the garage area of the venue.
Yeah.
And that's where I met my girl. So then I just said, well, screw it, I'm just gonna stay here. So that's how I ended up staying, was because I met my girl, but I was also already here for a couple of years working with Warren.
Before ending up in Milwaukee, Kendall traveled the country, picking up jobs and adding to his skill set.
I bounced around the country, working all my friends' shops. I'll just, hey man, like, you need paint work? You need fab work? Sure, there I go. Ended up in LA, was planning to stay in LA. I share a shop with my buddy Sean, phenomenal fabricator, very smart, talented dude, Warren called me and said, hey man, can you stop at our buddy's shop, Love Cycles in Arizona, and pick up these bikes that I bought for a client? I was like, yeah, sure. So I came up here, brought the bikes. Warren was busy at the time, and he's like, if you want to stick around like for a little bit. I was like, well, you got work? And he's like, oh, I got some work for you if you want it. So
And
that's what I do.
You've carved out this incredible niche where you're the go-to guy for an awful lot of very well-known custom bike builders. I think that you are. You can be humble all you want, but I know better because I've seen some of the circles that you run around in. So I know you surround yourself with some pretty heavy hitters out here.
Despite having a wide collection of skills and talents when it comes to bike building, Kendall is still looking to learn more.
I want to learn how to do CAD.
CAD?
Like SolidWorks.
Okay, programming.
Program, like kind of that stuff, like designing stuff. I have a couple buddies who are very talented and are very good at that stuff, and I see some of the stuff they do and it's like, I want to learn that. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but I want to dabble in it.
On part 2 of our visit to Milwaukee, we find out more about what makes Kendall stand out, plus we will make our way through the city to the weekly Harley-Davidson Bike Night on the next episode of Z1R Downshift.